What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Chaotic Angle here, bringing back to you guys another Defiance video talking about the update that happened probably about a month ago now, adding a new island called Alcatraz. Now, if you don't know what this island is or anything about this island, if I open up the map here, you can see this small little island in the corner right by Coit Tower. Basically has a bunch of DLC vendors on it, which actually, depending on what DLCs you have, or if you have all the DLCs like I do, you'll actually be able to access every single DLC vendor from this island alone. So which is kind of convenient, because then you don't have to run around the entire map looking for the DLC vendors. You can just come to this one island and they'll all be in that one primary location, which is freaking awesome. Of course, if you don't know how to get to Alcatraz, there will be mission by Coit Tower, as you can see here. Well, you can't, but this is Coit Tower. And then once you run that mission, you'll have access to being able to teleport to the Alcatraz Island like any other location throughout your map. Now, of course, when you teleport to the Alcatraz Island, you can see here that looks a little bit different than what a normal location would be. It's a little bit bigger and a little harder to navigate, but you'll kind of get used to it as you progressively come here, I suppose. And I believe it is the only location within the map that actually takes away your weapon, doesn't allow you to spawn a car or use your abilities for that matter. So kind of puts a whole interesting kind of feel to the whole Alcatraz Island kind of thing. But regardless of that fact, if I open up Escape here, you see I'll go into matchmaking and then into this little new mode here called Expeditions. Now, Expeditions are also accessible from the new Alcatraz Island here alone, but you can also access them through the matchmaking system as I just showed you here. Of course, you'll have access to all these 3 expeditions here. I believe they probably will add more in the future, but for right now there's only 3. You got the War Below, the Stolen Purpose, and the Hellbug Hunt. What these expeditions allow you to do is that they allow you to access more more content throughout the game, as well as more weapons and a little bit more upgrades for your overall character alone. And they run exactly like co-op maps, as well as any other kind of co-op adventure type of queue throughout the game. Basically, you queue for it and then you go in. Of course, you can go in solo. They are soloable, but in my personal opinion, I definitely recommend running this with another person at least, or a full group if you can. A lot of the times when you do queue for this, it will send you in by yourself depending on how many people are queued at that time, or depending on if you're in a party or not, so it's a little bit annoying. So my personal opinion is I'd queue up with the party, try to make a party beforehand, and then go in and then get this thing done, because it is very challenging. It is not easy, and it can continue on for hours if you want it to. Of course, you can stop whenever you want, but regardless, it will continue to go on and on and on, and it will progress in levels very rapidly, as well as the enemies get a lot smarter and they get a lot more difficult as the level progression continues higher and higher up throughout the game. But it is still definitely worth running, because it is, I believe, one of the most challenging things so far within our Defiance gameplay here, and it makes it a little bit more it keeps you on your toes, which is really nice, because honestly, throughout Defiance so far, there really hasn't been anything that honestly has done that. So I'm kind of glad that they did add these expeditions to make it a little bit more interesting and entertaining as opposed to gameplay goes throughout the Defiance game alone, which is kind of nice. And then they also give you access. The expeditions will also allow you to get these things called cyber rigs. Now, what cyber rigs are is that they're basically a separate stat tree that will increase other stats for your overall character, such as your reload speed, your recoil reduction, your shields, your health regeneration, even your overall power output of what power you're using, like overcharge or stealth, or etc. Basically, they're just extra stats that you can boost along your overall character in order to be able to become more powerful and be able to do a lot more things that you wouldn't be able to do before. It just makes it more convenient for you, I suppose. They're not really like a game-changing stat tree, I'd say. Probably not. But it is still something that's worth looking into and definitely nice having. You can pick up cyber rigs as well as other, I believe, smaller rigs, which I believe are the socketed, the socketed things you can see here. You can pick all this up, and the cyber rig as well, which is the overall capacity of how many slots you can have within the cyber rig. Down here, I believe, if I don't kill myself first. Actually, it might be in the front. One thing to mention about this Alcatraz Island is that it's very annoying to navigate. It's not very easy to navigate because it's just a bunch of, it's like a hotel. You just keep going up and up and up, and it becomes really annoying. But if I go over here to the first vendor that you can see, when you probably spawn into this location, you'll actually end up spawning over probably at the docks here by the boats. You walk right over here and you'll have access to other cyber rigs. Now, what cyber rigs allow you to do, well, these are actually prime evolvers. These are the cyber rigs, I suppose. I'm not really too sure how they go about doing that, but anyway, we'll just call everything cyber rigs for the time being. Basically, this overall cyber rig allows you to increase your slots for the chips. Now, these, of course, are the chips, and what this allows you to do is the chips actually boost your overall stats depending on what chip you grab. You can see I get 2% armor plate durability, armor plate durability, depending on which one you get to, depending on if you get a purple, green, or blue, they'll be higher in stats, which is kind of nice. You can also get bio damage. I believe there's also fire damage, elemental damage, and so forth. And then there's also regular damage, but they're only by a set percentage. And I think they only go up to about 3%. I think you can get higher ones depending on how long you've run the expedition within that one expedition that you're currently running. So it makes it a lot more interesting because you want to get a lot higher up. But these are the ones they actually give you access to within the vendor, and they use these small little like recyclable chip parts. Now, in order to purchase any of these chips or cyber rigs alone, now in order to access any of those so-called chip parts, you go into your inventory and then you would take one of the chips if you had it. I don't have one, unfortunately, but if you take it and then if you salvage it, it will give you a set amount of those scraps parts, I guess you can say, that you can use in order to obtain one of these other cyber chips. So if you really don't like the cyber chip that you got from the expedition, or if you've got a duplicate and you can't use it, salvage it and then get the little scraps that you can use in order to purchase other chips or other cyber rigs alone, which is kind of unique and kind of interesting in my opinion. But I think that's pretty much it for this update so far. I'll probably be making a separate video later on explaining a little bit more about the cyber rigs once I actually get there myself. They are really annoying to get, and they're not very easy because you have to get pretty far within the expedition in order to be able to get any good cyber rigs, which becomes a real pain in the ass because, like I said, they do get a lot harder as you progress, and being able to solo them would have been a little bit more convenient. I mean, you can solo them, but you have to be really smart about it, because normally soloing within Defiance just means running up to anything and blasting them in the face, and then at a set level, it becomes a little bit more difficult, so you have to like position yourself accordingly. But with this, it's basically if you're not paying attention or if you're attacking the wrong enemy at the wrong time, you will die. And not to mention, you only get one revive, and it becomes such a pain in the ass because when you go down again, then they actually ask you to use a form of points that you get every week, which actually these points, let me show you guys real quick. I think they're here. Oh, those are called silicon. Okay, then the hunter requisition? The hunter marks. We'll call them the hunter marks, whatever. These actually allow you to run the expeditions. You get them every single week. You get about 3 a week. Now, basically what this allows you to do is that every time you run an expedition, you use one of these hunter marks. What that means is that once these marks are gone, you can't run any more expeditions until they refresh after the next week, which sucks. I mean, the content's great within the expeditions, and it is hard as it is. For any newcomers that join, I recommend running a party before queuing up for this expedition, because if you just run in alone on the expedition, you'll end up wasting that one mark that you used, and you won't be able to get another one until another week, which really sucks. They come in your the dailies that you open. You'll get the marks through that about every week. It's under the weekly dailies that you get. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And then also, if you go down after popping your revive within the expedition, it will ask you to use one of those marks in order to revive yourself again. So it becomes really annoying. Not to mention, if you're in a party and you go down without a revive, you won't actually be able to get picked up. So yeah, it's very challenging, very unique type of gameplay, and it's definitely something new and different within Defiance. So yeah, but that's pretty much it, guys. That's the whole Alcatraz update in a nutshell. It's nothing really else that's been added or anything like that. No, not really any new weapons or anything. It's more based around the cyber rigs as well as the expedition maps, which give you new content and stuff, and new areas to run in and everything like that. And the whole Alcatraz Island that you can see here. One more time, I'll show you guys on the map, and yep, that's pretty much it, guys. But anyway, my name's Kingle. If you haven't already, don't forget to like, favorite, subscribe. Kind of helps me out. I hope to see you guys real soon. Later.